friends, Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa String Works Workshop, and it is Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022. Got a couple things to show you. First thing is this. And you might say, well, what is this? This is a storage drive that I can attach to my PC where I can offload all these huge video files. This is 12 terabytes. And you might think, how big is that? Well, I don't know how to explain it. In an earlier vlog where I said, you know, I had the 20 megabyte hard drive and everybody thought I was the cat's meow, you know, back then in the early 80s. 20 megabytes now, I mean, just to give you some kind of a relative number, a very small video would be at least 20 megabytes. I'm talking like just a few seconds long. Or maybe a large photograph with a lot of detail might be almost 20 megabytes, or like a couple of recorded songs would be 20 megabytes these days. I mean, it doesn't take much to fill up 20 megabytes these days. Why there is such a disparity difference? Because back then you would think that seemed like forever. Like you could put the whole Yellow Pages in a 20 megabytes, you know. But not anymore. I think the programming has become much less efficient in some ways, and because they know they've got huge storage spaces, they don't have to be, you know, real concise on some things. But on the other hand, it's also become much better, and the graphic detail is so much better, of course, that increases the size of the file too. Well, anyway, just to give you some idea, it takes 1,000 megabytes to make 1 gigabyte. It takes 1,000 gigabytes to make 1 terabyte. And I've got 12 of those here. So I've got 12,000 gigabytes here. Now, your average PC these days usually got a 500 gigabyte hard drive on it, SSD hard drive. This is 12 terabytes. So I'll give you some idea. Yeah, this is big. That'll help some, but that's still just a temporary fix. I've got 2 or 3 more of those things, believe it or not, and they're already pretty much full. They're not quite 12. I think one of them's 10 or something, and one of them might be 5 or something. I don't remember now, but anyway, they're pretty much full. The other thing that I have for show and tell this morning are these. Can you see what those are? Yeah, those are the cutters, and they are spiral, and they are made by Dremel too, which is really weird. I had no idea they were made by Dremel when I ordered them even. I didn't pay that close of attention to them. They were on, I think, Amazon. Someone pointed them out for me. The last time I had looked, I couldn't find these. Now, these are not standard 115. These are 115 HP, which I should have looked up what HP stands for there. I don't really know. High performance, probably. They've got the gold coloring over them, which I think is like a cobalt or something. I'm not really sure, but most of the time that stuff's all a gimmick. I mean, you know, I'll be glad if they last 1 or 2 mandolins, you know, but I got 4 of them. Now, the sad part of that is, what am I going to do with them? I'm pretty much not going to build any more mandolins. Not unless there's some kind of a miracle with these hands. I am going to the doctor today at 2 o'clock, or at least I'm planning to. And while I'm filling you in on miscellaneous notes, the shop talk on this coming Friday will not be at 8 a.m. If we have the shop talk at all, if we have it at all, it's going to be in the afternoon. It'll probably be around 1 o'clock or something like that. And the reason for that is I am booked to play at a school on Friday morning for their, I don't know, like a Missouri Day, Western Day type of, you know, fun time for the kids, you know. And so they bring in people like us, and typically I bring arrowheads and show those too, you know, just different things. I'm not sure. I need to double check on this one to see what I am supposed to do, because honestly I haven't thought about it much. But it is this coming Friday morning that I'll be doing that for the, I think it's the Rolla Middle School. And of course, yet this evening, we'll be playing at Dickey's Barbecue House there in Rolla, Missouri, and we'll start that around 6 and go to around 8:30 or so. So if you're in the area and you see this in time, well, stop by. We would love to have you. The last thing here, I've saved it to last, so that way if you're not interested, you don't have to listen. But several people have wanted to hear about my grandkids and about the rest of the family members. In a prior vlog, I mentioned most of the people you see on the screen and my wife. I talked about her. But I'm going to tell you about my grandkids now and how they all relate and that type of thing. I didn't write any of this down in terms of ages. I'm just going to go in age order, and there's usually about a year or a year and a half between them, so that'll just give you some idea. I don't recall all of their birthdays anymore. I wish I did. My oldest daughter, Lisa, she is a teacher for the Rockwood School District, and she teaches 4th grade, I believe it is now, she teaches 3rd grade now, I believe. She much preferred to teach 4th grade, but anyway, you know how that is, they move you around. She has 3 kids. Her oldest is a senior in the Rockwood School District this year at Eureka High School, and her oldest daughter's name, my granddaughter, is Kaylee. And Kaylee is a straight A student. Oh, I mean, like, very, very, very good student. Wouldn't surprise me if she's not valedictorian of her class. I mean, she's very, very sharp. And a beautiful girl, and she'll be graduating, of course, very shortly. Which probably just means Grandpa's going to have to fork out a few dollars. In taking them in age order, then, we'll move over to my son, who is JR, and his daughter is the next oldest, and her name is Mary Ellen. And Mary Ellen is the basketball star here at Newburgh, and she is also a straight A student, and she is also a first place type winner in a lot of the art contests that they have. So she's very talented as well, beautiful girl, very tall, got Grandpa's hands. That's what I'm also going to try to tell you, is which thing they inherited from me. Now, as far as I know, Kaylee didn't get a whole lot from me other than her brains, of course. I'll take credit for all the brains. All the grandkids, you're going to hear that repeated over and over. They're all straight A students. I mean, they really are. Every one of them. It's amazing. And what's really amazing is that Mary Ellen, being a straight A student, her father being JR, my son, let's just say he wasn't a straight A student. In fact, he was much closer to the other end of the scale. Much closer. Oh my gosh, we had fun with JR in school. In fact, they're going to the Newburgh High School. And by the way, we moved down here early to help let JR go to that high school because that's where he wanted to go to school. You'll probably think I'm making these things up, but guess who the principal was at the time my son JR went to the Newburgh High School? Well, his name was Michael Brooks. And you say, Brooks, Garth Brooks's brother. No kidding. And the story is, and I think it was before we moved down here, I think Garth pulled off the highway one time and actually played a free concert for the kids at the school one time, a surprise concert. That's the side note. I'm sorry, but when you start telling these stories, you get off on those little tangents. All right, so that's Kaylee, Mary Ellen, and then let's see, the next oldest would be Ashlyn. And Ashlyn is Kaylee's younger sister, so my daughter, Lisa's second daughter. And Ashlyn is also an incredibly sharp student. I mean, straight A's and nothing but straight A's. And yeah, just crazy how good she is in school too. Now, as far as I know, Ashlyn, she mostly kind of stays to herself and doesn't really have a whole lot of outside interests. She's kind of an introvert. She's a fun kid to be around when she wants to be fun, but she just kind of stays to herself for the most part. So she doesn't have a lot of other extra activities that I can tell you about, that I can think of anyway. Anyway, so then let's see, the fourth child down would be Rebecca. Now you notice we had 4 granddaughters in a row, and Rebecca would be the next one, and that's JR's daughter, second daughter also. And Rebecca is also obviously a straight A student, as I mentioned. She's also an upcoming basketball star, very good. And Rebecca is probably the strongest girl you will ever know. I mean, she is crazy strong. On the basketball court, they just better watch out, because Rebecca can send them flying, you know. I mean, she's just crazy strong. It's unbelievable. All right, so that's the 4 granddaughters in a row. And as far as I know, Mary is the only one out of those that got anything from me, and she got the hands. And on the day Mary was born, as soon as I saw her, I looked at her hands and I went, oh my gosh, she got my hands. And then everybody drew attention to her hands. And seriously, her fingers were so long. It's just unbelievable. And from the time she was 12, she could palm a basketball. Okay, so now let's see. We've gone through all 4 girls. The oldest boy is Tyler. And Tyler is my daughter Lisa's son. And, you know, I have 3 children. We haven't got to Rochelle yet. We're going to get to her in a minute. She was the late bloomer here. Tyler, son of Lisa, and Tyler's also a straight A student. Tyler has recently developed an interest in hunting and fishing and stuff like that. And he's been doing a lot of duck hunting with his dad and with his other grandpa. I took him out deer hunting here, and he did successfully get a deer one year. He's very good student also. He's really into computer games and things. And again, as far as I know, I don't think he inherited anything specifically from me. Okay, so then let's see. The next boy is Isaac. Isaac is JR's son, so he's the 3rd child for JR. And Isaac, again, is a straight A student. And again, it's really ironic that all 3 of JR's kids are straight A students, because JR really was not, trust me. It was a struggle getting that boy through school. Oh my gosh, was it ever. And his mother is a saint for the fact that he actually did graduate. Well, anyway, Isaac and I, we're starting to get to be more buddy-buddy. Isaac's always been very kind of introverted also, very off to himself. But he and I have done a number of projects here in the shop together. We've worked on his 4-wheeler, and I helped him build a bow and arrow, and I have a video out there on helping him build the bow and arrow. I may post a video on some of the work we did on one of his 4-wheelers. But anyway, Isaac did inherit one thing from me, and he probably doesn't even realize it, but he did. He's got the biggest head around, and so do I. When it comes to fitting a hat, I had to have my cowboy hats custom made as a child, and Isaac's the same way. There's no hat that will fit him. and I'm the same way. There's no standard hat that fits me. And those hats that, you know, like baseball cap type things that's got the little holes in them, I'm always on the last hole, and some of those barely fit. Isaac got that. None of the other kids have that, as far as I know, but Isaac definitely got the big head thing. Okay, and I know you can make all kinds of jokes about the big head. The next boy, because it's 4 girls in a row and then 4 boys in a row. That's how my grandkids went, is Trinian. And you've seen Trinian on the channel a number of times. Trinian is just a crazy smart kid. I mean, as I've said from day one, you've heard me say it before, how smart this kid was. When he was 8 months old, he seriously could whistle and whistle on command, on which 8 months old. I mean, that's ridiculous. Just when they can first start moving their head, you know, like if you would walk in front of him in front of the television, he'd be like this. Even though he's just a baby, he'd be moving his head like this, trying to see the television. And from the time he was, like 18 months old or whatever, he could pretty much carry on any conversation with you that you wanted to talk about. I mean, he's really a smart kid. I'm telling you what now. It's hard to put it on a map how smart this boy is. And of course, he's a straight A student. He's the one that got the taste. And if you don't know what we're talking about there, I'm a taster, and I'm an official taster. I have been tested, and that means that you can taste chlorophyll in food. And that's why I don't eat any vegetables. I mean, like zero. None. Now, the exceptions would be that some people would call vegetables, or maybe they don't call them vegetables, are potatoes, rice, and corn. And all three of those are starch-based foods. So I don't eat green vegetables for sure. Black and white, 100%. Don't eat not even that much of any of that. And neither does Trinian. And it was really obvious. And we know for sure that Trinian got my color blindness also. So he got my taste and he got my color blindness. And then his little brother, Leighton, is the baby of all the grandkids, and Leighton is now in kindergarten, I think going into first grade. Leighton might be, he might be the exception to the straight A students. He might be. I don't know. He's not that he's dumb by any stretch. He's a smart little kid, boy. I mean, he's right on top of everything. But on the other hand, he's really got the rebellious spirit going on. And oh my gosh, is he a live wire. He's a live wire like we ain't never seen before. I'll just give you one example, which I think is very funny, and you grandparents out there will get a kick out of this. He came home from school one day acting so proud. My daughter has an office in her house. She does work from home, and so she has the doors closed, and it's a glass doors to this office. And he's pacing back and forth in front of those glass doors because he knows he has to wait till she's done working, and she gets done working around 4:30 or something like that. So he's pacing back and forth, and he's got this paper in his hand, and you can just tell he can't wait to show her this paper, right? So every day in their kindergarten, they get a red day or a yellow day or a blue day. Anyway, they grade their day on how they did in school. Well, he brings this home, and he shows his mom that he's got a blue day. And his brother, Trinian, is standing there by him, and Trinian's, a couple grades ahead. And Trinian says, "You dummy, you don't have blue days in kindergarten." So under his breath, Trinian's saying, "You dummy, you don't have blue days in kindergarten." Leighton's looking over at him like this, and Rochelle kind of heard that, but she didn't really connect the dots, and she's praising Leighton on how wonderful that is that he finally got a blue day, because most of his days are yellow or red. And anyway, so, he wanted to be like his brother, who always gets blue days. Trinian is just like the angel, he's the teacher's heaven-sent angel. I mean, like Trinian is, he wouldn't do anything wrong if you held a gun to his head, And Leighton's not like that at all. And so sure enough, Leighton's telling, his mom about having a blue day, Well, of course, as you can probably already tell, he forged it. So, and Rochelle didn't realize he forged it until she went to a parent-teacher conference with that teacher, and she said, "Oh, I was so proud of Leighton. He got a blue day." And the teacher goes, "Blue day? He didn't get any blue days." She's going, "Well, he had a paper, had a blue day on it," and he's going, "Well, kindergarten, nobody gets blue days in kindergarten." Oh my gosh. Yeah, you can imagine he caught heck. And the even funnier part is that his dad is the I think assistant principal in their school district. So they're on the outskirts of Dayton, Ohio. So I don't know which school district it is, but Anyway, that's my grandkids. They're all cherished by me. I can tell you that for sure. They're just heaven sent from God. I love every one of them. And Leighton is a lot of fun, but I'm afraid where we're headed with that boy. He is something else. And I guess that last one had to be the zinger, you know. Not all of them can follow the same footpath, you know. I'm amazed that all of them are straight A students. It's crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. Because myself, in terms of school, I was a pretty good student. I always got average and better, you know, like B's and upper, you know, C pluses and B's and occasional A minus type thing. You know, I never really excelled until my junior, senior years. And then I got straight A's. I finally buckled down, because the reason I finally buckled down was I wanted to make sure that it looked good when I went to get a job, you know. And I may have told you the story about me getting my job working at AT&T, and it was actually Southwestern Bell at the time. And I'll tell you one more time, just because it's the most unique story about getting a job you'll ever hear in your life. My dad had a lawn service, and I was cutting the lawn of the executive vice president of Southwestern Bell. His name was Ray Shockley, and he had a big estate, you know, like, I don't know, I'm going to say 4 or 5 acres, and I was cutting the yard and trimming everything and blowing off the sidewalk and all this stuff. Now, keep in mind, this was back in the, it would have been in the 60s for sure. I was in the 4th grade. And anyway, when my dad came to pick me up that afternoon, Ray Shockley apparently came out and talked to my dad. I didn't know about this conversation, and I never met Ray Shockley, didn't know who he was or anything about it. And Ray says to my dad, he says, "I've never seen a kid work that hard in my life. Does that boy want a job working for Southwestern Bell when he graduates high school?" And my dad says, "Well, of course, you know, absolutely." Well, 2 weeks before I graduated, I got a phone call and a job offer from Ray Shockley. He had checked my attendance, which I had perfect attendance, and he had checked my grades, and I had straight A's, and he gave me my job working at Southwestern Bell. And that's a true story. I never, in any of that other time in there, I don't recall ever meeting Ray Shockley. I don't recall ever going back to his house. I think maybe one time, and went back and cut his grass one more time or something. But as far as I know, that was the only incidents that he saw me or knew me. And amazing that he followed up, and 2 weeks before I, graduated, he called and offered me the job. Well, I've bent you here long enough today, and had nothing to do with music too much today, but I just thought it was time to get all that out on the table, because several people have scolded me for not talking about my grandkids. So there you go. You just heard it. I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but I'll be going to the doctor today at 2 o'clock to try to figure out what's going on inside me. And I'll keep you posted. Hopefully it's at least kind of okay news. We'll see you tomorrow.